All right, everyone. So, quickly going to go through the agenda, and then we're going to start off the main thing, right? Talking about the top 5 submissions. So, what today is all about, every single time when we have a challenge, at the end of the challenge, we host a webinar where we go through the top 5 submissions. Primarily because, as every single webinar, me and Federico have told you, what this community is all about is giving you an environment where you guys can learn and progress your skills, right? So these webinars is our way of giving you direct feedback and talking about the reports, things we think are done very well, things we think could be done a little bit better, or things we think you should pay a little bit more attention to, and just giving our perspective of things. We do have a lot of experience in this. In no way, shape, or form I would say that me and or Federico think that we're the best out there. No, it's just we have a lot of experience and we can talk about different things that we've seen in our experience, right? It's not necessarily that our what we say is the law. Trust me, it's not. Things are going to change, the designs are going to change, and everything. It's normal. That's why you see what everybody else is doing, just to kind of understand, okay, what's the current situation in the market. But yeah, we're going to talk about the top 5. Of course, it's going to be in random order, just to not spoil the winner. Then we're going to comment on each and every one of them. We're going to answer any of the questions if you do have any. And remember to paste those questions in the Q&A section of the chat. And at the end, we're going to, of course, going to announce the winner. And we're also going to do some honorable mentions. Because let me tell you guys, this month, the challenge reports, it wasn't easy to pick the winner or the top 5 even. There were a lot of great submissions. And we just wanted to point it out there and put in some additional honorable mentions for certain things that we noticed that were done pretty well and, have been taken like a little bit to the next level. So there's a couple of those things as well.
There were 92 entries, guys, in this challenge, and we have different judges. We go Sunchar with their own interpretation. We have the FP20 analytic team with their own interpretation, my interpretation this time, and we have the collaboration of Growa Analytic in Costa Rica with their own interpretation. So you need to understand that because this time your report might or might be there, that doesn't mean anything. As Avis is mentioning, we are making today some special mentions because the quality has been really, really good. On my side, I normally have 2 prizes. I have 4 prizes this time because it was very difficult to pick between those amazing reports. So everybody is a winner. Well done, guys. Keep going.
Exactly. See, that's one of the things that we love about this, right, Federico? The actual feeling that you see when people started off and the reports that they're submitting right now, it's an amazing feeling to see how they have actually progressed through time. It's amazing. It's one of the things that I like about it.
And that is the beauty of that.
Go ahead. Yeah, right?
I'm not going to repeat it again, but when I was participating in challenges, sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But you try your best, and that people start noticing your work. You start getting connection, your portfolio start growing, and that's the idea. If you are lucky and win, good. But if you practice, you grow your connection and create a portfolio, that's the target. That's the target.
Exactly. And before we jump into the top 5 and going through the submissions, I just wanted to take a little bit of air, guys, and quickly remind you, don't run away at the end of the webinar, and remember to fill in the feedback forms. I know you guys don't like to do that, but trust me, it helps us to understand if we're doing a good job, what other things you're missing, what you liked, what you dislike. Just helps us to improve as well, right? And without your feedback, it's kind of hard to improve because we don't know what you are missing.
Not only that you fill the form, guy, you have 65% more chances to win than not winning. That's simple. That's simple.
So submit your feedback and just let us know what you think about the webinars. And it doesn't take a lot of time. Trust me. These feedback forms are not like inquiry for, a PhD where there's 50 questions. No, it's a really quick form that you spend like a minute or 2 to fill in, and that's it. But yeah, we will really appreciate if you can do that. All right. Without further ado, I don't think we need to spend any much more of everyone's time. Let's just jump straight into it, right?
Go for it.
All right, let's go. So one of the submissions that has gotten into the top five comes from Toyin Taiwo. So congratulations, Toyin. And I definitely can say that this is not one of your first submissions ever to get into the top five. So congratulations and kudos for the great job. Now, if we open up the report, let's see what Toyin has actually done with it. So let's open up an embedded version of it. And I'm also gonna paste the URL in the chat so you guys can open it on the side as well. All right. So, Federico, do you want to take the honors first, or do you want me to go first?
Um, Up to you. Okay, let me go first so I can be reading the other side. Let me have a quick look.
Sure, yeah.
Congratulations to Win for being on the top five. I think that left panel with the filter is quite empty, being honest. I think you could have been able to play the three filter at the top. The total EES at year end with no information there. Can you play around with the filter or something? See if there is more. Okay. Okay, stop there. You can see
Yep.
you need. I have repeated quite a few times that you need to check and double check your filters. For me to have 5 or 6 KPI cards and then 3 of them become empty because there is no information, that's telling me that that filter might not be the best to be used in that specific time or in this report. Always please check the how the filter interact with the report. Do we have a clear the filters? Yep. Okay, that's fantastic. And this side, the green side on the right, is that empty or is touching the border? I'm not sure.
That's the wallpaper of the report itself.
That's the wallpaper.
Yeah.
Then D is touching the graphic at the right. They're touching the edge of the canvas. That never. You have to remember, guys. We need to learn to leave some margin or gap, whatever you want to call it. I normally try to be a 30 pixel or 40 pixel in both sides, and everything I mark the rest of the report within those margins. Yes, sometimes you can deviate, but never will be touching the border end, no left, no right. Apart from that, the palette is very nice. The use of color is nice. Play a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, generally, I like it. What I'm saying is not about me not liking it. Is me trying to make the report to look better. Go back to the retention analysis.
Yeah, going back.
Where is here at the bottom?
These ones, yeah.
Yeah. There is something wrong. This line are equal. There is something wrong, probably coming from the modeling, or they are very, very similar. Or maybe
They're
they are
very
okay,
similar.
but they are very similar, no? That doesn't give you any information. If you don't place any labels, for me, they are all the same. So it's not giving me any advantage. And I don't know, what is that? There are columns. That column, you have to make that column thinner. For me, the columns on the right, you have to make them thinner. They are too big. I didn't know what it was until I read the percentage. Apart from that, a top 5, well done to Win. Congratulations, and keep going.
Very good. So from my side, Toyin, one of the things that I noticed that I liked about the report is that you actually went ahead and played around with the subtitles of the reports. So what you did here is if a person chooses, for example, a group, they can always follow through and see what they have selected. And these small little things, they help the user to understand what exactly has been filtered out. The one thing though is that what already Federico mentioned, for example, is you need to always double check and make sure that, for example, you do not start off with a situation where, for example, one of the cards is empty, or you come to a conclusion that one of the cards results in an empty value. If that happens, a typical response or thing to do is to make sure that you just don't showcase blanks. You either showcase, for example, not applicable, or you showcase that it's a zero, something that tells the user that there is something within it, right? You don't just leave it blank, because it causes a lot of confusion. It's one of those things. The other thing that I liked about it is, for example, the color palette itself. It's fine. I like the fact that it's not all over the place. But there is one thing that I noticed, I think, in this report right here. Yeah. So if we go through different pages, you're going to notice that, for example, everywhere where you place the labels outside at the top, they were black. Whereas in other pages where you have the labels that fall into the categories, I think it was under retention analysis. Yeah, there we go. For example, in the retentions, you made them white, right? Which is noticeable and everything is good. But for some reason, in certain visuals, you have left the position as undefined or as auto. So the visual tries to reposition it automatically, and it's not forcing it to be either at the top or at the bottom. So you have situations like these, for example, where you can see 31 million just fine, but 117K, you can barely see it. So always make sure that you play around with the positions and lock them in a certain location. Because one of the things that the chart is going to do is going to try to position them best as it can. But if it doesn't have enough room, well, it's going to squeeze it down. So it's one of those things to kind of pay a little bit attention to. Similar case was with the percentages, like Federico mentioned here. So what you can do in these cases, I don't have an example at hand. I'm going to open it up afterwards in just a second just to kind of showcase you guys. But if you have a visual like this, and this is going to be specifically for those cases where your values are very close to each other. So what the chart does by default is it finds the min and max value, right? And it goes through, for example, in this case, the min value probably in one of the scenarios was a 0 and the maximum was 100. So that's the min max value of the range itself. Because of that, you're showcasing all the bars which look relatively identical. There's pretty much no difference between them, right? If we hover over them, we can see that there are different percentages. So what you can do in these cases is under y-axis, there's a property called zero axis. And if you switch it from visible to floating, it means that would dynamically adapt to the min-max value that's within the viewport. So in those cases, you would actually see a difference. I'm going to showcase it a little bit later. I don't have an example by hand, but you would at least see the difference between the gaps. Because in this one, I don't know about you, but all I see is just a straight line of columns that tell me absolutely nothing. I don't know if there was an increase, decrease, if one of them is special for some reason or anything, right? Just look at these and play around with the filters and everything. Similar situation here, again, for the labels. You can see, for example, if I zoom out, some of them are jumping up and down. That's because there's no design location. These ones are fine, but I can't really read the black on black. Well, the background helps a little bit, but it's not ideal. For the map visual, one of the things that I noticed, and be always very careful, guys, when you have some sort of clustering capability, not just on the maps, but in any place itself, even on regular visuals, you can see what happens here. At the lowest level, these retention rates are correct. But if we go up, clustering essentially sums up the value. So you would have to create a measure that calculates at least the average for the cluster. Because having a sum of 594 turnover rate or retention rate, yeah, it seems kind of unreasonable. As much as you would want to, that's kind of unreasonable. So from a end user perspective, again, this doesn't really tell them anything or help them in any way, shape, or form. So just play around with these type of analysis. This one was fine. I like the help section, that it actually adapts to the pages. I like the fact that you also played around, I think it wasn't this one, yeah, where you're not taking away the filters, or actually you can see something has been saved. So play around with those a little bit more too. Trust me, guys, I know for those of you who are not here for the first time, you're already annoyed with us telling the same thing, but play around with your slicers and your visuals. sometimes the weird scenarios that you can find, some abnormalities in the charts, come from playing around with the visuals itself. You can't always think about every single scenario that's out there. That's why you play around with the visuals and see, okay, yeah, this makes no sense. So I have to rethink this property or this visual a little bit. How do I accommodate these sort of scenarios and everything? But other than that, I think it's a good job, very well made, Toyin. So congratulations on the being in the top 5. And I guess we're okay with going to the next one.
Let's go.
All right, next one. Rigoberto, congratulations, man. So let's open up the report and see what Rigoberto has done with it. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so one of the things that I like about this report is, on one hand, it's the simplicity, right? That it's not too overcrowded with a lot of cards, a lot of different visuals, so not a lot of moving parts in that aspect. But one thing which was kind of confusing me a little bit at first, and this is just my personal preference. Again, remember, if that's what the customer wanted, that would be just an excellent solution to that. But one of the things I noticed about this particular visual is that it actually has a set min and max value. Now, the reason why I noticed this is because I started to play around with the cross chart filtering, right? So for example, I want to filter out employees that are male. And you can see that instead of rescaling the axis, it actually goes down. So it shows you how does it compare to the total. That's the idea that I'm getting from it. If I go for a specific ethnicity, so let's say Caucasian, you can see it gets lower and lower and lower. The only issue I have with this is that now it feels like it's not utilizing space efficiently. So most probably what I would do here is I would have had 2 different series, one of them showing the total without any filters. So basically just use remove filters function or all except, for example, and just showcase the total. So it doesn't take into account everything else you do from the side, and use that basically as a background or, as a thicker column in the back, just to showcase the total. And then showcase the result that comes through the filtering in front of it. That would tell me a little bit better story so I can understand, okay, but how much was it prior to that, right? How much was the total? Because now, in order for me to get to the total, I would have to reset and see, okay, 174, that's the baseline. Now I have to go again here and see, okay, how things are changing, right? That's one of the part that I just felt is kind of missing. I like the idea that you did here, but I think it could have been executed a little bit better. But the idea is there. I like it. It's a different approach, right? Other than that, I like the fact that you have the sort of drill downs. You allow the user to go through different approaches, different visuals, and different, let's say, dimensions that the user can actually look into. You have the information button, which is all good. Salaries and bonuses, I think it was in this one. Yeah, I think it was in this one. So remember, guys, one of the things for you as a developer is to ensure that the user experience is non sort of broken, right? So there's nothing that kind of makes the user go, what just happened? And one of the things that I've countless times told you, and I'm going to say it again, you as a developer, for example, for our visuals, can choose which of these items are shown. If you are not using these items, or if there is no added benefit to it, do not use them just because you have them. The reason why this is so important in this case is this example. You can see everything is just fine right now, right? If I choose, for example, again, male, you can see that there's now reset button, but reset button takes away a little bit of space, so the info button drops in the second row. So it feels like the chart is jumping back and forth. All of this could have been eliminated if you just, for example, remove the linear scale, because linear scale in this sort of behavior doesn't really tell you anything. That's why you play around with all these selections, cross-chart filterings, and everything. Because on a first glance, it doesn't seem like there's any issue. I agree, there is none. But when you start to play around, you notice these things and you're like, maybe I could have done it a little bit differently. But other than that, I like the fact that you also utilize the scatter visual, which is a new visual. So kudos for you to, sticking with it, even though there's not a lot of additional information currently available. So you're kind of left there out alone in a sense. But I like the fact that you already utilize some of the functionalities like crosshairs and tooltips. Regarding tooltips, Rigoberto, very small little detail. Look at the tooltip right here. You're taking like 50% of the tooltip for the top card, but pay equity, which is the bottom row, gets a little bit cut off. So just move it and make sure that there's always a little bit of white space between those areas so you can really read the values. Because you can see, for example, if I move around it, I can see that it's there, but because it's so close, it feels to me like it's getting cut off. So just move it around, like Federico already mentioned this, right? Leave the visuals and the borders and everything a little bit of room to breathe. You can't over cramp things. But yeah, other than that, I like the fact that you stick to a monochrome approach. You're not playing around with hundreds of different colors. So kudos to you for that. Other than that, it's a great job. And Federico, anything from your side?
Yeah, just very short couple of points. Um, can you try to dig on the retention rate by gender and ethnicity? I don't know. That is only telling me female and male, but I cannot see the ethnicity. Where's the ethnicity there?
On the second level.
Ah, okay. Okay, I like that. Perhaps I will have, but look what happened to the top left.
Yeah.
Donald Sharp and Rigoberto checking the filter. I know you are a professional with your own consultancy. That small detail is what I'm going to make you services. Okay, go up. It's very important to, and I know sometimes we are tired and we have checked everything, but we cannot see anymore. And I have said many times before that the time you are your wife, your children, your friend, or you tell me, Federico, I'm missing anything. Okay, I will be more happy to help. Now, go to the second page.
Yep.
You see in the first page, we have 3 white bands. Okay, they are the equal size. Okay, here Rigoberto has to adapt. Okay, to the different sizes of the chart he's using. But it's presenting to me 3 uneven bands. Okay, that I personally aesthetically don't find it very. You see, there are 1, 2, 3. They are same size. They are same distributed. If we go to this one, we have 3 different sizes. My idea is for Rigoberto next time, try to join these two, the donut and the column stack column chart, just one together. You can distribute where the visual there, and then you have the other one with the line chart and the bubble chart. I love that line chart. I don't know why, and I like that chart. Perhaps I would have tried to play a little bit with the color and trying to highlight the most important or something like that. But I really love that chart. And the new bubble chart by Sunchar, congratulations, Sunchar, I really, really like it. Okay, so Rigoberto is becoming not only how I like to say, a member of the tribe, by participating. We can see how much he's improving, and he is coming into every single final.
Exactly.
Okay, so Rigoberto, I would have liked to have entered in a few finals when I started playing challenges or participating. So congratulations. Always attention to details.
Yep.
Okay, and that attention to details, the last part of the report is when you are tired, and I know that will happen the mistake because we are tired. Okay, so that's the time I say, now I'm going to close it down, and tomorrow I'm going to spend an hour or two checking everything for delivery. Okay, apart from that, very well done, Rigoberto. Enhorabuena.
Exactly. And don't forget, guys, you do have the option to send in your reports when you're submitting them for initial review that we can go through it. And we usually come back with a lot of feedback. If you have anything specific that you just want to get our opinion on, you have the ability to just type it in the description and say, hey, can you guys check this one thing? Does it look good? Does it not bad? Can you give me honest feedback on that. We're here to always support you guys. So if you have these questions, don't be afraid to ask. The worst thing that I've always told you guys, right? Don't forget, the worst thing that can happen to your questions is, well, what? I'm not gonna answer. It's not like you lost anything, right? It's the worst thing that can happen. All right, next submission. So the next submission that has gotten into the top 5 comes from Minasad. So congratulations, Mina. And I think it's the first submission that has gotten into the top 5. So I think so. If I'm wrong, then you can punish me later. But I think it's the first one. So let's open it up and see what the report has to offer. All right. The one thing that I can tell straight away that I liked about this report is the clean design, right? It's not all over the place. You have, like in this case, for example, you have 2 specific things that you're focusing on. The visual aspect of it is exactly the same. So you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to understand, okay, what is being shown here, right? You just read one of them and then you understand, okay, one is about the head count, one about the termination. That's it. But the principle is exactly the same. So that's one of the things that I really like. If you go to the HR metrics page, we can see that here we're taking a slightly different approach. So summary is a summary, right? There's not a lot of things, moving parts. You have some core visuals, but you're overlooking the situation. Whereas in HR metrics, you're actually trying to look at different values and different dimensions. So I like this approach a lot. It goes more towards a professional build report that allows the user to start off with an overview and then go into details if he needs to. So you have a lot of drill down capabilities here. You can see we have a lot of different categories and so forth. You can allow the user, like I said, to move between different values and so forth. The one thing that I noticed here is when you switch, was it under bonus, I think? Or maybe I mixed it. That actually seems okay. Yeah, the one thing that I was missing, I think it was, yeah, one part of it was the bonus, the salary, turnover rate. For turnover rate, we have it. For retention rate, we have it right here. I was missing like one major card that tells you the main number, right? So for example, when we're talking about salary, I just want to know how much we paid out, for example, so far. I can't really see it anywhere. We have annual salary individually by the employee itself. We can see the average annual salary. There's not like a total salary paid out. I just want to see how much we have spent on our employees. Same goes for bonus. We can see the average bonus amount and so forth, but how much money have we spent on bonuses? Because trust me, as a company owner or a director or anybody, you want to know how much money you have spent on your employees. That's one of the core things you try to understand. Where is the money going? So having a one KPI card would be, I think, beneficial in this case. Because for these 3, like I said, I can see it. I can see the variance and everything. But for these 2, it kind of felt like I'm missing out on something. It might have been just me, but that's how I felt about it. I like the fact that you have the possibility to clear the filters. That's all good. You have the possibility to select years and compare it. The only thing that I noticed here is, but again, that's a quick fix. You just have to double check the measures. Is, for example, if I select a single year, I think there's something off with the calculation itself. So for example, we can see that I selected 2021, new hires 81, that's fine. Previous year headcount was 922. Currently we have 922. It shows me that there's a difference of 100%. Not entirely sure how that came to happen, but it might have been, we've all made mistakes in DAX, trust me. There's not a single one of us who has created a perfect DAX straight away, but it is what it is. So the one thing that I would recommend is just double check your DAX, because something seems a little bit off here. Other than that, I think it's a great report. You also have the information panel, which explains things and how to use it and so forth. Other than that, I really think it's a good report. I don't really have a lot of other things that I wanted to add here. Federico?
Sure. Liam mentioned that it's Mina Sad first entering the challenge. I know Mina
There you go.
for a few years now. So he's very happy to actually see he participating. Actually, I was talking to him this morning about a different matter, not about the challenge. And as you mentioned, the first page is just a page I want to see. It gives me the information I need to without breaking my head. And that's the time I have as an executive or a boss. That's the time I have. I don't want to have a headache first thing in the morning when looking at, okay, the numbers. Perhaps not as David mentioned, the big numbers are the first one I'm interested. I might not have time today to check out the report. I just want to see the big number. So you have to give them straight to me. And that is what I'm going to put in a piece of paper and take it to the board of director or another meeting to provide more information. So remember that. And we focus, if we say, okay, the intro, that is the executive view of the report. You need to make sure that you show that concentration of big numbers in there. Okay, so people gather the information. I love the way you have separated the headcount and determination. So that's really good. That first page, I love it. Can we go to the second page, please?
Of course we can.
Okay, I get that headcount, retention rate, turnover rate, salary, and bonus, they are bookmarks.
Yeah, in this case, these are bookmarks because if you switch from here to salary, you can see the visuals change.
Okay, so it's okay, it's well executed. Will I put too many bookmarks in a client report? No. No. Simple no, they have to be looked after. They have to be properly set up. Sometimes you will realize that you didn't include data and there are no filtering with the filters. It's okay if you put a couple of, but 5 different bookmarks plus the 2 you have at the top of the navigation. In my personal view is a bit too much, but that's a personal view. Okay, maybe AB is using 5 different bookmarks in a report with no problem at all. Okay, in my case, I try to avoid that many bookmarks, mainly because they need to be looked after. If a client has to look after the report, when I pass the report today, if something breaks, he's going to have a nightmare to fix it because you don't have 1, you have 5. And you don't know what happens when I try to fix 1, it's going to affect the other or not. And that happened. I love the color palette. We have purple, and then we have this kind of fuchsia or red or whatever color you want to call the female color. I would have preferred you continue with the monochromatic palette. I think it breaks. You have everything purplish, bluish there, and then you have this red and green. The time for use a couple of icons, one for a male, one for a female. Okay, and in my opinion, it would have been a little bit better. So nothing more. Thank you. Well done, Mina.
All right, and don't forget, guys, if you have any questions or anything that we go through, just feel free to ask them. That's fine. All right, going on to the next one. So the next submission that we have in the top 5 is from Ethan Guyan. So congratulations, man. Let's open up the report and see what it has to offer. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so first things first, the map. Guys, how many times have I told you? Make sure that, first of all, the user is always able to see everything within it. For example, if I switch between the pages, you can see that it loads, but it gets cut off slightly on the sides. So that's one thing. The other thing is regarding the colors. And there's a specific reason why I want to cover this in this specific report. So you can see that we have 4 ethnicities, right? We have 4 ethnicities right here. And then everywhere in the report, we're talking about 2 genders, male and female, where you have a specific color assigned to it. And it goes throughout the whole report. I understand that you wanted to stick to the same color palette, but color palette usually, if you have a lot of different colors, usually consists of 8 primary colors. That's what Power BI allows you to do. out of those 8, you decided that 2 of them are going to be exactly the same 2 that you use for ethnicity and for gender. Don't do that. Especially if you're already color coding everything with the gender specifics, don't use the same color. That's from just a user perspective, right? Because you want them to be able to read everything fast. Because, for example, especially if you have 2 visuals, like here, for example, it feels like it's part of the same group. I'm reading the visual, so for example, the brownish color is ethnicity Asian. So I'm going to, oh no, those are actually female. It's kind of getting confusing a little bit. It's not the end of the world. This is easily fixed, right? We've talked about this. A lot of these things you can easily fix. Is just what we notice from our experience. So that's one of the things that I notice here. I like the fact that you actually decided to use a box and whiskers visual, which is not the easiest visual to use or read. I can definitely tell you that, but it fits nicely into this specific sort of scenario. So that's a good approach. Regarding the filters and the clear slicers button, which is right here, right? It fits all nicely, is that it actually clears only the slicers. And I'm guessing I know what really happened here. This button is clear all slicers, which is a functionality within Power BI. If I click it, you can see it clears all the slicers, which is good. But if I filter out something from a visual, and for example, choose also just some random selections, and if I now clear the filters, that is not taken into account. Always double check your bookmarks and everything, because sort of clear filters button or reset button, it's supposed to take you to the initial state. That is the primary goal of that button, to allow the user, if he gets lost, to quickly get back to the initial state. Trust me, it's very easy to break any report, whatever you do. Trust me, even the reports that I create or Federico has created, people are going to find ways to break them. They always do. I don't know
Oh
how,
yeah.
but they always do. So giving them a way to get back to initial state is what allows them to kind of understand, okay, what's really happening here. Other than that, there are a few very good things that I noticed here. One of them is I liked what you did here, right? For the navigation, it's already visible right here. So there's 2 tabs for different pages. But I like the fact that you also created this expanded navigation, which allows the user to see the name of the tab. I think it's a good way of utilizing the space that you have available. So for example, you're basically utilizing icons as a quick reference. But if a user wants to know what it is, the only thing you could probably also do is, let me check if it's not here, is adjust the tooltip. Remember, but guys, for buttons, you can adjust the tooltip that showcases itself when you hover over it. I would probably put also the page name on hover, so we can see the page name, but it can also open up the expanded menu to read the page name. Give them few options on how to do things. The information, I love this one. There's actually one better one, which is in the honorable mentions. But I like this approach of the information panel not just being a single overlay, but it works more of as a guided tour. It takes you through the report. So you start off here. It allows you to see, okay, there's actually a summary. If I click on it, that tells you the overall statistics about, what's happening in the current situation, what's been filtered, and so forth. Okay, all good. If we go through the next steps in the information, it just takes you through different things, explains, highlights them. It's a different approach, but it allows the user to have first, let's say, the introduction to the report, and they can start using it. What we've done also for a few customers is, I know it might seem not intuitive at first, but for customers that haven't used Power BI previously, one of the ways on what we need to do is we need to somehow introduce them into the world of Power BI and interactive charts. So what we even do is we start off with this sort of behavior at first. Just bring it out up front, and they can choose whether they want to go through the steps or if they want to close it. That goes for one, 2, 3 reports, just so they get used to it. Once they get used to it, we don't use it. We keep it there for when they want to use it, but we don't force it on them. But sometimes it's very good also approach to kind of give it to them first and say, hey, do you want to have a guided tour, or you just want to do everything yourself? So few different options. So yeah, that's one thing. If we go to the turnover rate analysis, I think for this one, everything was fine. I like the approach and how you also utilize the thresholds in a different manner. So that's one of the things I like. For the scatter plot, I'm guessing you didn't use hours because we didn't have size, but okay. It's a feedback to us to understand what we can improve upon, right? So it's always all about that as well. But other than that, yeah, I would say it's a solid report. There's a lot of interesting insights that we can find from it, and I don't think the design itself was too overcrowded. But I would probably play around with this area right here because this one seems like it's a little bit cramped together. So I would change this one. Maybe just keep the map. That's what I feel about it. Yeah, Federico.
Very quickly, just the last point that Avid mentioned about this map and the other visual in there is, as Avid said, perhaps it's too much in that pack size. And sorry, the frame. And personally, for me, the how do you call this? The box blocks? How do you call those? The green
Bucks and
things.
Whiskers. Yeah.
Okay, that is for scientists. I have no idea. Hey, I'm Federico Pastor. I have no idea what those are telling me at all. And that's not your fault. It's my fault because I don't read the kind of chart. But have you thought about me reading this? Because if I cannot read it and the report is for me, you never inquire what is the analytic experience of my audience. And that is very important because there are people that you might be able to actually use, okay, the type of visual. The other people that probably go with the easier visual. Yes, I understand that the middle is the 25% and you have the 75%. I know the theory, but reading it, though it is beautiful, it's kind of reminding me of Star Wars, okay, kind of these flying thingies.
Yeah, yeah. The drones. Yeah.
I will personally will not use it to a client unless the client has requested for it because they have the people who can read it. So we need to also understand that it might look nice, it might look okay, but who is reading my report? And your audience is LinkedIn and your colleague and challenge participant. Are they up there yet to be able to read that? If you think it's okay, you go ahead. If you think it's no, perhaps you go for a different visual. Apart from that, it's a very beautiful report. I like the color palette. I don't know. I think that filter icon at the top is too small. That
Yeah.
one is too little. Poor little fella. It's like I'm alone here. But apart from that, it's an excellent report. I remember looking at it this morning, and I really like it. Just minor stuff, minor thing that for you to consider further more than any criticism is for you to consider further. Who is my audience? Who I reading my report?
Exactly. And
Nothing.
really, guys, remember one thing, right? Don't take anything we say too close. There's going to be a lot of opinions about every single report. There's going to be different views about everything. Your job is to take all that feedback and take the best of it and what you think could help you in your situation. Because at the end of the day, one thing you have to remember is that there is nobody else who knows your audience specifically. Once you start to build the reports for your audience, knows them better than you do. We might have different approaches, we might have different ideas on how things could have been done, but if you know, like Federico said, right, if you know that your audience already uses this type of charts and they read it, that's fine, keep them there. But you know that insight, not everybody has that insight. So always take every feedback that you get, collect it, and see, okay, which part of that could help me make the report better. Don't implement just everything you hear. Trust me, at some point somebody's going to be like, you know what, we don't use these two colors for genders, right? There's going to be opinions. Welcome to the internet. So take all of that, take into considerations, and do what you think is the best approach for it, because you are responsible for the report. At the end of the day, you are going to be the one that everybody is going to come back and say, hey, can we do this or that, or what does it mean, and so forth. So you are the one building these. Take credit for it, be proud of it, you know. All right, last one. Well, that went by quickly. So the last submission that we have in the top 5 is from Esther. Congratulations, Esther. Esther at this point is already a senior participant, right? She's been with us almost since the very beginning, and I can tell you guys the report quality has gone up and up. That's one of the things that I like to see every single month, how the reports are changing. And yeah, kudos to Esther for getting into yet another actually top five. I think in last month as well, Esther was in the top five. So kudos to her. All right, let's open up the embedded version and see what the report has to offer. So I like the fact that she went with the approach of, having some sort of color gradient, but didn't go into the extremes, right? These colors fit nice and neatly. That's all good. I like that about this. The one thing that I noticed when I started to play around with the visual is, for example, these slicers on the side that full name mostly fits in. But if you go for things like business units, you can see that they start to cut off. That's one thing that I noticed. The next thing that I started to look into is the placement of the slicer to see, okay, can I actually extend it a little bit? And if you look here, you can see that this space is a bit smaller than this one, meaning that it could have actually been a slightly extended. And that slight extension might have been enough to showcase the full name, right? And trust me, it's not the end of the world. These things can be easily adjusted and everything. You can always play around with them. Don't get too worried about it. But it's these small little things that matter. It's the experience that the user sees from it. And trust me, if I'm looking for a specific business unit, I most probably want to read the full thing. If not, then make an abbreviation for it. Research and development usually is being abbreviated into R&D. Make it work, right? Make it smaller, make it name something else. You have the possibility to do that. Statuses, yeah, go ahead.
No, I got space. I mean, I was trying to do the, you got space there, you got room to actually extend the division with no problem at all. It's not breaking it just by making it bigger. You look at the alignment, you look overview and location, full name, it can go a little bit to the left, align to the left with overview and location, and then it's staying a little bit wider and you have the full name. And the full name is very important, guys. Sometimes, and I cut short, I have decided to go for in a visual for the ID of that dimension. There is a number, but then I as a tooltip or in the tooltip you can see the name of that ID because it gives me the full name because the full name is too long. If I put in the visual, if I put in the filter, I got that problem. So sometimes I decide, no, I'm gonna go for the ID 003014, and then I explain when you hover over the column or over the bar, you will see the full name of the product or the whatever it is.
Yep.
What else? I mean, you mentioned Esther came from zero with us. Actually, I know that because I talked to Esther quite a lot too, and we have seen her growth from beginner time to now producing better and better report, every time more serious report, better alignment, better positioning, better everything. And that, as I mentioned before, that's what we are looking for. That massive column make it please thinner. Yeah, that big column, I don't like it. Okay, apart from that, Esther, I'm so happy for you. I know you're working hard and that we can see that growth, okay, in your reporting. And congratulations for being in the top 5.
Exactly. We're always happy to see how you're advancing and everything. The one thing about this page, though, that threw me off a little bit, and this is just a recommendation for everybody who uses ever maps or anything, make sure that all the information that you have within it is usable and it allows you to do something. In this case, for example, we have shapes for every single country in the world, but we can already see that there's no data for most of them. So what happens if I select a shape that doesn't have any information with it? We break the report. So either play around with creating your own GeoJSONs, or in this case, since you only have few countries, I would say if you don't have any other options, you don't know how to create a GeoJSON file, don't create the shapes. Just leave the map as it is, because that at least doesn't allow the user to just break the report with a single click. The other thing is about the table. And this comes back to also the first report, if you remember when we talked about cards. Don't leave a scenario where you have nothing in the cell. That is not a good approach to do things. Make sure you have something within it. Because otherwise, again, if it's a blank value, Power BI parses the blank value, and this basically gives you nothing. It allows you to select it, but there's no added benefit of it. So if you would say that it's not applicable or something, that at least would allow the user to understand why it's not here. Because the first process, my thought process here was, it's still loading. I don't know why I first thought about it, but it felt to me like it's still loading. Something's not really here. That's one thing. And the last thing I wanted to mention is whenever you add a gradient, I like that you added the gradient because it allows you to quickly find the highest values, for example. But make sure that you don't put the lowest level of the gradient the same color as the background is. Because you can see here, they're white. It seems like something is not being processed here. Again, that it's still loading, that it doesn't have any formatting. Put it on a lighter shade of blue, but don't put it on the exact same color as the background of the visual or the report itself. That's something you want to avoid. Other than that, I think it's a good one. I went through different approaches, different values. It seems like these are the total salaries. The only thing that I was really hoping to find somewhere was because we have this slider for bonuses, right? Similar to how we had it in the other report. If I, for example, select something, so I define the bonuses, I can see the payouts, but how much is the bonus, guys? If you let me play around with the bonus, I want to see the bonus. So just provide that information. Whether it's just a regular card or something, just tell me how much I paid in bonus. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. But other than that, the clear filters works, the navigation works. I think everything's done pretty good. So congratulations, Esther, for getting into the top 5. And I think we've gone through all the submissions of the top 5. And don't forget, guys, you also have the ability to go into the challenge pages and you can vote yourself for the reports. So make sure you do that. Let us see what you think about the reports and which reports you like the most. You know, going forward, we can always add another nominee, like, for example, People's Choice or something. And then that's why the feedback forms, right? Tell us what you need, what you want from us, and we'll see what we can do about it.
Time to say who is the winner.
Exactly. So let me just take this off.
And I think
screen.
that there are some. I don't think we have the time, but there are some special mentions, guys. Please, that will be at some time. It will be pop out somewhere or by email or in a post by Sunshine. Some special mentions about this challenge.
Yep, I'm gonna try to name them after announcing the winner. But
Okay.
yeah, enough about that. So the winner from this challenge for the Zoom Charts mini challenge is by Minasad.
Minasad, congratulations.
Congratulations. First participations, getting the trophy. I mean, that's how you do it, right?
Oh, it might be it might be fair participation, but he's
not a newbie.
He's not a newbie at all. I know that. I know Mina for a few years now, and I saw other entries and other challenges, and he's a good colleague and an excellent person. Hey, he worked it out and he taking the winnings. Well done.
Yeah, congratulations. And yeah, definitely, guys, don't get discouraged just by the fact that you see, for example, like Federico said, Mina is not a newbie to Power BI. Okay, what about it? You make a better report. Give yourself a challenge.
Yeah. I like to compete to the non-newbies.
Right?
The reason you don't see me entering in my challenges now, or the only one I enter with the big boys, are there so I can actually challenge them.
And the other reason is me and Federico probably just don't want to get our asses kicked by some of you guys.
Oh, so. Yeah. I decided a long time ago about that. I won't participate in many, not winning anymore. Julio is one of our judges in the FP20 Analytics. Guys, don't forget that we, FP20 Analytics, is posting the winners after this event. So in about 10-15 minutes, our winner, the FP20 Analytics winners, together with Julio Solano, that's here right now, I saw he will be announced. That is Sunchar winner and top 5.
Exactly. So as far as the honorable mentions, I'm just going to quickly run through the names, and I
Go.
want to say special thank you to you guys. So special thank you and honorable mentions go out to Norman Reynaldo Sabila Castro. And the comment that we had from the team was that there's a shout out specifically for the outstanding guided tour that you have created. So remember, I told you that there was a better submission with the guided tour. So check out Norman's report. That has an amazing one. There's also a special honorable mention to Jason Call Martin Tubas. So congratulations to you. Great work on how filters, map visuals are combined, plus a great work on adding separate countries, not the whole map. Yeah, and that's a pretty interesting approach as well, so you can guys check it out. So instead of just adding one map, Jason actually created 3 different maps showcasing each and every individual one of them and focusing on them. Another special mention goes to Mind Nguyen. Congratulations to you. And special shout out goes for design and color palette choice. So there you go. Arkadius, oh man, I don't want to butcher this one. Arkadiusz Krosiewicz. I hope I'm getting it close. And it's technically strong and visually well developed because it's rather complex, could be split into multiple pages, but the report itself was very good and very technical. So congratulations into that. Another mention goes out to Gainer Alberto Meya Gorzon. I hope I'm pronouncing these right. If not, let me know, guys.
Hey
Great work
there.
on combining.
Hey there.
But yeah, great work on combining map with the donut visual and the cross-chart filtering that you have implemented there. Also an honorable mention to Prajameshlan Palanisyami. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. But yeah, shout out for great design and layout. And the last shout I want to put out there is Tui Lea, also for very good design and layout combination. I think I didn't miss anyone. I think I'm
No, I
good.
think the special mentions. I also have a couple of them in my decision making today. So I think that overall, Avis,
Yep.
Sunchar, Federico, you guys and the participant, we are getting better and better at it. That's the idea. That's the challenge. The challenge is not about the winning or the certificate. The challenge is about you growing and as an analyst, as a connection linked to be noticed more than winning or not winning. Hey, that doesn't mean that you don't want to win. I want to win every challenge. Don't forget that. But
Oh
I know
yeah.
I cannot win every challenge.
But yeah, we've told this hundreds of times. The community and all these challenges about you guys developing your skills. It's about creating a network, getting to know people, because we know how hard it is to start off. We fully understand it. But this is a great environment where you can do this. You can learn, you can see great reports, you can open up previous challenges, you can see what other people have done. There's so much inspiration and resources that you can utilize for this. We wish that we would have all of this when we started off, right? But we
Oh,
didn't have it.
yes.
So we're trying to make the environment better for you guys. But yeah, I hope that was an interesting session for you guys, that the feedback that you heard and reports that we went through, you liked them as well. Let us know what you think about it. If anything we're missing, let us know about it that as well. And other than that, I really say thank you for every single one of you for participating and coming to the webinars. And other than that, the only thing I can say is wait for the announcement for the next one. And I'll see you in the next webinar.
Thank you, guys. Next challenge coming tomorrow. And my winners are coming out in about 15, 20 minutes. Thank you very much for attending. And I see you in the next challenge.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.